Okay. Hi, this is Allison Bueller. I am here today with two very special guests, and we're going to talk about moving beyond vulvodynia and vulvar pain. I wrote a book in the past 2 years called Rethinking Women's Health, and I was inspired to write this book because I had healed from half a dozen women's health issues. I was doing fine. I was enjoying life and very happy not to have to deal with these issues anymore. And I stumbled upon a group on Facebook, and it was called Vulvodynia Support or something like that. And I began reading stories, and they were my story. They were the story that I had lived for 15 years. And I just felt incredibly in pain for the women that were still struggling with what had dominated my life for so long. And so I started on a quest to find women who had healed. And I spent about 6 months finding these stories of women who had healed. And we're going to get to hear how that happens for people and how that can happen for you today. So I'm going to introduce my guests. Laura, go ahead and talk about yourself a little bit.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Oh, I'm hearing an echo.
You got an echo?
Yeah.
We don't have an echo.
Okay, I hear myself repeating back. Maybe it's better now. So welcome everybody to the call and the webinar. My name is Laura, and let's see, it's a 10-year anniversary that I healed vulvodynia and interstitial cystitis. Boy, when I first had that, I couldn't even say it. It's a mouthful. But anyway, like many women that I've encountered over the last 10 years, I was, it came from what I thought out of the blue. I thought I was a normal, healthy woman, and then I like to say all of a sudden one day, but that's not really, when I look back, it's not really what happened, but I felt like one day I had it. And I went to tons of doctors, and it was just really awful. And I just kept getting drugs thrown at me, options to get surgery. A lot of doctors just threw their hands up and said, I don't even know where to start with you. I have no idea. And it was really upsetting. And so one day I finally just realized that I'm going to have to take this into my own hands. And it was extremely upsetting and yet empowering at the same time. And I guess the whole year that I took to heal was a series of ups and downs. It was definitely not a smooth ride. And I would have really have loved to had some support, but I actually had a lot of opposition. A lot of people in my life were telling me, stop it, stop treating myself. I don't know what I'm doing. Go back to the doctor. You're really wasting your time. You're going to get, worse. And it was really discouraging. And I just had to put my blinders on, and there was just nobody. So when I finally did heal myself, I decided I need to write a book because there was no books on what I did. And I wrote this book called Healing, well, it was called My Burning Vagina, Healing Vulvodynia Naturally. And I just started to give it to women. And then I realized, like, okay, I've got to reach more women. So I went on some support forums, and at the time there were like groups of Yahoo had some groups and things like that. And I was getting kicked off of the groups. Like they were like, you don't know what you're talking about. You need to go to the doctor. Stop taking this into your own hands. What do you mean? It has nothing to do with your diet and your lifestyle. Like I literally got kicked out of groups. And that's why I decided to create my own group where I had the freedom to discuss natural things and where other women could come safely without being discouraged and told that it was hopeless to try to do this on your own. And so I created, at first I called it Vulvodynia, Healing It Naturally with Laura. And then a few weeks ago, it was my 10-year anniversary of being Vulvodynia IC free. And I felt like, you know what? Cancer patients are considered cured after 5 years. It's been 10. I'm saying cured because I don't know if everybody is aware, but the word cured is very controversial. So I changed it recently to Vulvodynia, Curing It Naturally with Laura. And that's where I am. We have this wonderful group of women. We hear all different stories. That's where I met these two amazing ladies. People have healed in multiple different ways. And I'm just really excited to share, whatever experience I can add. I don't say I know it all. I don't. But, I just coach people to find their path. And if my path helps them to start their path, that's pretty much my goal, is just to try to help other women find their way. So that's where I am. I try my best to help.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Laura. You are a champion for many women in the group, and we appreciate you. For those of you who are joining us live, there's a way up in the top of your box. There's a little yellow button that says live. And if you see next to that, there's a little calculator-looking button that has 3 buttons across and 3 down. If you click on that, you will be able to see the question-answer opportunity. And so you can type those into the question box on the side, and we'll be looking throughout the program at those questions and answering those. If you can't seem to work that out, then go over to Facebook, and I'm watching right now on Laura's page. So, no, let me see, which one am I on? I will go to Laura's page. That'll probably be easier. And we'll be looking for questions there as well, and on the post with the event in it. So, Lorraine, could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, I'm Lorraine Faindrick, and I am a mind-body coach, and I focus on working with women who have chronic pelvic and sexual pain, which I sort of fell into because I had my own experience with vulvar pain about 6 years ago. And for me, it started with chronic yeast infections. At the time that I started having yeast infections, I had a background in natural health already. So I was a massage therapist, I was a life coach. I had done about 1.5 years worth of naturopathic college, and so I was very into alternative natural healing and how the body could heal on its own already. And then I got yeast infections, and I started doing the things that I sort of knew. I went for acupuncture and was using herbs and adjusted my diet, and I got the yeast infections under control. And then soon after that, I started having burning, first during intercourse, and then it became chronic. And none of the doctors I saw, I mean, they were all like, "You're fine, there's nothing wrong," and I was like, "I am not fine." But because of other experiences I had had with healing at that point, I was like, I realized what a struggle I was in with my body, and that I was so resisting the pain and trying to fix it. And I was just aware how much tension and stress that was creating. So I decided to, I remember the day, I made a conscious decision, I'm going to let this go, and I'm going to tune into my body, and I'm going to start asking it what it needs. And I literally started talking to my vulva, or my yoni, which is what I call it now, and I got such amazing guidance. There were places where past experiences with sexual abuse that were contributing to how I was showing up in my relationship and how I was considering my needs and all that. And as I started applying what I heard, and really looking at the symptoms more as something to kind of guide me on my path rather than something to get rid of and fix. And it didn't take that long, a few months, before my pain was gone, and it hasn't come back at all. Yay. And so now I just sort of naturally in my work started attracting women who had health issues in general, and then more with pelvic pain. So that's what I focus on now.
Thank you, Lorraine.
Yeah.
So we've got two different tactics to health on vulvodynia and vulvar pain. My own was physical. I did a major health overhaul and got success. But the more and more I talked to women that had healed, the mind-body connection became stronger and stronger. And it's funny, I think Lauren and I found a very similar path. I saw Laura's posts about Dr. Sarno right when I was finding him, and right when I was using his work in back pain as well. And so that mind-body connection that a lot of us want to discount at first, don't discount it yet. Just hang in there, and let's entertain some ideas. So the first way that women healed from vulvodynia, and all of the women that I talked to, and I talked to probably about 600 different women who were at various stages of healing, but I was most interested in the ones that were totally healed. I wanted to talk with women who considered themselves free of these things. And there were 3 ways that happened. It was surgery, sometimes a vestibulectomy, produced big-time relief. And the second way was a physical health overhaul. And the third way was mind-body connection. And so, Laura, I'm going to get to talk to you first. Let's talk about, why does the physical overhaul impact vulvar pain and vulvodynia?
Yeah, so when I was dealing with this personally, I can't stress enough to everybody how I was like this average suburban mom who was so not connected to my mind body. If you said mind body, I'd think you were some very strange hippie. I was like not like that at all. So for me, I went into this physically because that's what I was. I was very physically rooted in my life. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I just didn't. In fact, a couple of people suggested stress may affect it, and I took offense to that. So I went in physically because that's all I really knew. And I thought there must be a physical problem with my body. And so I guess it's just the door that opened for me, and it did open really wide. So it's important because you are what you eat. You become what you eat. The cells that you put in your body become your cells. I didn't really know that at the time I was healing, but I know that now. So food is nourishment, but it's also enjoyment, but it's so much more than just those two things. It's messages to your body about what to do, and it creates chemical reactions in your physical being, and it sets off a series of like unbelievable complicated chemical reactions that help you to think and to breathe and to go to the bathroom, and so it's so much more than just plain old nutrition and plain old enjoyment. And so that's why I think the physical component of healing is one that should not be neglected. I do want to say that while I was getting better, there was a mind body thing going on, but I was not aware of it until about 6 months in. But at first it was all a physical thing, and it worked for me at first. I started to balance my body and bring it into pH balance. I started reading about balancing your body's environmental environment. I read every book on pH balancing that was available. And I took from those different books and I created my own little diet, which is in the book that I wrote. And it did bring me relief. It brought me a lot of relief. I would say physically, I got about 80% relief from just physically changing what I put in my body food wise. The last 20%, and that's where I'm sure Lorraine could probably even say how important it is where I realized, oh my gosh, my mind is definitely connected to my vulva. This is crazy. And it took like 6 months, and I started to explore that. And that really was the cherry on the cake. Like that was like, oh my gosh, as soon as I realized that, the last 20% of my healing went beautifully and I was free of all pain. So I came in through it through a physical aspect, and I'm still in it through my mind body connection aspect. And I think there's so many amazing ways to heal your body, but I think what you put in your body, no matter what avenue, even if you have surgery, even if you're taking drugs, the drugs work better if you eat and feed your body and give the right messages to your body. The mind body works better when you feed it properly. So it's a vital component. I definitely can't say it was only my diet. I have to really make that clear. It was other things, but that's why it's so important. I hope that answered the question.
I think so, yeah. I love hearing your experience. I think we lost Allison.
Oh my gosh, it's just like, should we take over the ship?
I guess so, for now.
Oh my gosh.
No.
Yeah, I don't know where Allison, maybe she got bored with my answer.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I love how you said, Laura, the connection, how everything works better when you've got the diet. And because I relate to the mind body piece in the same way. I mean, it's all interrelated, right? So,
yeah.
And I know I've heard you say before, like meditating, how you think it affects the alkaline acid balance in your body. It's all really connected.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there is no magic bullet, and there isn't one way. And I think that's why Western medicine, and we've kind of had this conversation, Lorraine, can't cure it, because we are all different. We are all DNA different. We're all chemically different. We're different in some. Oh, here, Allison. Oh,
Is she back?
Computer's crazy. Her computer went crazy. So, well, I guess we'll take over.
Oh no.
But yeah, so I think since it's just really complicated. You can't. Western medicine has done a lot, but they've never been able to show the brain and say, oh, here, look, that's sadness, that's stress. See that in your brain? They can't physically do that. So they can't cure it, because it's just it's not like you have diabetes or you have a cancer, or not that those are difficult things as well. But I'm just saying, it's not a tangible thing, so they can't make a pill for it. You know, they just can't.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess let's assume she was going to ask you the mind-body component.
Okay.
Talk a little bit about
All right, I'll do
that's
it.
important.
Okay, great. So, well, I think we've touched on it a little bit. So, I had never actually heard of Sarno when I healed my body, but I was very excited to find his work because it really supported what I had done. You know, like that there was a doctor out there who was saying, and what he says, just to summarize, is that he started working with back pain patients, and he had really high. He was a surgeon. He had really high rates of success by having his patients stop physical treatment and work on their emotions, and recognize that pain can be created in the brain for the reason that he said, as a decoy from emotions that are kind of overwhelming or that we're unconsciously suppressing. And I think it's important to recognize, I think when people hear that it can be coming from emotions, they may feel that has some blame or something in it, and it so doesn't. Like, it's not about it's your fault. It's about our emotions and our mind and our body are connected. Oh, Allison.
Allison's back.
I never had that happen before.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Okay. So our thoughts and our emotions and how we're relating to them actually have a physiological impact on our body, on our nervous system, on the stress hormones that are being released in our body, on the tension in our body. And so when Sarno says that, or anyone says that there's an emotional component to your pain, that's not about blame. That's about, we learn ways of relating to our emotions when we're young, and if we've had any kind of trauma or grew up in a family where, or had experiences in school where our emotions and our inner self wasn't welcome, we learn to suppress that and turn it down, and it becomes this habitual way of being. And we, as I find, especially with women, we learn how to get very intellectual and cut off our connection with our body, which, in order to not feel what's happening in our body, we do things like hold our breath and we tense our muscles. And the pelvis in particular is an area where women can hold a lot of emotional energy and suppress it and really tense and contract muscles. So, you know, when you're looking at the physical component of pain as muscular tension, yeah, it's great to get support from a physical therapist. And also, the original cause a lot of times for that tension is emotional and mental, like how we're thinking, how our brain is responding to our emotions. And so that's what I teach women how to do, is to start getting out of being all in their head and come into their body, learn how to feel sensations in their body so that they can access their emotions and start connecting to the guidance that their emotions are bringing them, and start connecting to their body and understanding how it can be helping or guiding them, even though I know that can be hard to hear, because when you're in a lot of pain, our natural response is get out of our body, don't feel what's going on, and do what our medical model has taught us, which is go to a doctor, go to somebody who's going to fix this broken part. And that's not really how we work. It's all interconnected. So that's, I guess, a brief summary there. We lost Laura, it looks like.
That maybe Laura.
You guys hear me?
We can hear you.
It's just my picture. It's a good picture.
It'll work. So I want to go over what were some of the things that I found in talking with other women. And so the first thing was looking at an underlying cause, whether that is an emotional cause or a physical cause. A lot of women did find an underlying cause. Some of the physical causes are what? An unbalanced pH, an overgrowth of yeast. What else are physical causes that you might have? Other issues. Autoimmune disease is huge in collaboration with vulvodynia. And then emotional things. How many women had some kind of sexual shame, sexual abuse, or just not comfortable with their bodies, you know, very ashamed of being a female. A lot of people said those things. So an underlying cause is the first thing to look at. And I know if you're about to claw out your vagina, you don't want to look for an underlying cause. You're ready to just scream and get away from it, like Lorraine said. But look for those when you have time. We're going to talk about triage next, because triage, immediate things that we found. You know, lidocaine. A lot of women lived on lidocaine. Ice packs, sitz baths. My trick always was kefir from the store. It's like yogurt, cold from the fridge, right on there and all over it, and it would be fine in an hour or two. What are other triage measures that you guys have heard?
For me, this is going to sound crazy, but a cucumber.
No, it doesn't sound crazy. Nothing sounds crazy to us.
Eating a cucumber for me was very alkalizing. This is before the mind-body thing, when I started to realize that my mind was more a roll, and if I did have a slight little tingling, I would breathe that, but I guess we'll get to that. But and Evian water. I mean, the whole year, all I drank was Evian water, nothing else. So I would take some swigs of Evian baking soda in water, about a quarter of a teaspoon in 6 ounces of water, up to 4 times a day. That gave me immediate relief a lot of times. So I just want to make a comment though. Sometimes I was too alkaline. So some of those things can backfire. When you're so unstable, I would swing. Like when I was trying to heal, sometimes I over alkalized myself, and I felt burning that way too. So I would have to do something like eat something acidic. I know it sounds crazy, but I say it's like a diabetic. I went over, and then so I would eat nuts or something that like was more acidic, or some animal protein, and that would help. So that's why I used my pH sticks, and I would see what my urine was telling me, and it was either a cool burn, which was too much pH, too high, or a hot burn, which was too acidic. And they feel different, and I started to realize that as I heal. I could tell, oh my gosh, I'm too alkaline. I'd test myself, I'd be a 9 on the stick. I'd be, oh my gosh, yes, it's cool burning. So I guess that I want to say, that's why sometimes baking soda doesn't work for some women, but apple cider vinegar does. So it's so individual, really individual.
Right, and that's what I want to talk about now, how individual that diet and lifestyle are as cures. Laura, you have talked a lot about the pH diet. I didn't even know what the pH diet was, and I found my healing. I became a normal pH through this, but it wasn't because I even knew what it was. It just happened because of a major health overhaul. Mm-hmm. And that's what I talked to so many women. It was finding what works for your body as far as what you put into your body. You said this at the beginning. It's so simple. What we put in, we get out. And I know that most of us want to keep our Starbucks and our Diet Cokes and not have vulvodynia. But I never found women that did that. I never found women that healed through health and wellness, through diet, that could do that. It's harder. It is a harder way to live. It is a more disciplined way to live. But what is your option? And one diet doesn't work for all people. For me, it was fermented foods. I believe fully that I had a whacked out microbiome, and you'll hear about that all the time now. I didn't hear one word about it at the time. I just happened to have one friend who was very into fermenting foods. I had ear infections as a kid. I wasn't breastfed. I think my system was completely out of whack. I had yeast infection, and then I stopped testing positive for yeast infections, but I still felt like I had them all the time. And of course, that's the same story that so many women have. And I cleaned up my diet majorly. We started gardening. We didn't know how to grow a cucumber. We didn't know how to grow anything. But we started gardening and growing our own food, not for us, but for our kids. We were really looking at what it would take to grow healthy kids. And then when I added the fermented foods, the probiotics on top of that, I think the balance tipped back for me. I don't know that I claim cured, because I think if I were to ever go back to eating like I did my whole life, I think I would be sick again. This is just a way of life for me. I really am convinced from all of the women that I interviewed that that vulvodynia and vulvar pain are types of autoimmune disorders. Some reason the body is attacking the body. And I talked with Terry Walls, who is one of my health heroes, and she did the preface for Rethinking Women's Health. And I said, what do you think about this notion? She said, it makes total sense. You have an autoimmune disorder where the body's attacking the body, increased inflammation that you cannot get under control once the cycle of inflammation starts. And until you break that cycle, it will not stop. And so the only ways that I know, other than surgery, to break the cycle are with diet and it's hard. Again, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's hard to eat this way. And then to stop the stress response hormone that comes along with inflammation, and that comes through a mind-body connection. I didn't know what meditation was. I thought meditation was kind of weird, honestly, at the beginning. I wouldn't dare start my day without getting on my floor for my 10-minute guided meditation now. I wouldn't do it. It's just not going to turn out as well. And so I've kind of come a long way. I thought pizza and, fries Friday night was fine for years and years and years, and my body did not. So can you guys talk a little bit more about the particulars? I'm going to let you talk, Laura, first about diet, and then Lorraine, how do we move into just entertaining mind-body, and what does that look like? So Laura, you go first.
You mean what is the pH diet part?
Yeah, and how does that individualize for people? How do different diets work for different people?
Yeah, I think it's interesting for you, Allison, that you found fermented so helpful, and you're not the first woman that I've heard that from, by the way. It killed me. If I had anything fermented, I was crying in bed, burning like unbelievable. So that is a perfect example of how some women do well and some women don't. And that's why we have to be very careful in our support groups to not quickly jump on someone when they say, I tried this and this was great, because that's what I was seeing in other forums. What are you talking about? That killed me. It's not the good answer, but for you it is. You always have to add that phrase, but for you it is. So that's the thing about the diet, is it's just extremely individualized. And I found, for me, I was not oxalate sensitive. I know the low oxalate diet is another route that a lot of women go, and I just always say about this low oxalate, I'm not for it. I will not hide that. Way to eat. It doesn't move you forward. It takes out, but it doesn't give you anything back. So I do believe some women are very sensitive to oxalates because it is a weak acid, which goes along with your mineral deficiency. Some women are deficient in minerals that help to break down oxalic acid. The only way to get those minerals back is to eat the very greens that have the oxalates in them. So it seems a little counterintuitive, but it's very important to get those greens in. For most women, now if you're sensitive and you start eating spinach and you're burning, my suggestion is to eat 3 leaves of spinach for like a week and get your body rich with those minerals that are needed to break down the oxalates in the spinach. It's long and tedious and complicated, and that's why a lot of women throw up their hands and go, screw it, I'm going on the drugs. And I totally understand that, but it's not easy, but it's worth it, because the thing about the low oxalate diet is you never heal, you just status quo. You're just not feeling pain, but you're not getting better either. And that was I went on that diet for 2 weeks. I was so miserable. I was like, I don't have as much pain, but I am so miserable. I can't eat like this. This is not fun. I love salad. I happen to have loved salad. So I encourage women to break down your intake, keep very detailed diaries, and start off really small. If you're concerned that oxalates are a problem for you, there are many charts. I think we have one on my page in the files, a low oxalate chart with, how much oxalates are in each different vegetable. But really, bottom line, and I love Michael Pollan. He's a foodie nutritionist, and he wrote a book called Food Rules, which is always so hard for me to say. And his biggest, to me, most important rule is eat food, not too much, mostly plants. And that's what I want to say to everybody. If it's made in a plant, don't eat it. Eat some things that were made in a kitchen. Don't eat things that were in a box. Broccoli doesn't have nutritional value on it. You know what I mean? It's broccoli. There's no ingredients. It's broccoli, and it's broccoli. That's the kind of diet I followed, and that's what I encourage women. I'm not saying now I don't eat other stuff. I certainly do. Once you build your minerals back with all these wonderful fruits and vegetables and really great grains, you'll be able to cheat and eat various things. In fact, I'm having a cup of coffee right now, which I gave up for 7 years. So, but it's so individual. You just have to keep that diary, keep your tracking, get your pH sticks. That was such a helpful tool to me. And eventually you build up your mineral reserve, and you can metabolize those acidic things in food and in minerals and in supplements that your body can't handle now. So I hope I answered that question.
Yes, and tell me a little bit, if you had to say, okay, four foods you just can't eat. You just can't eat if this is an issue for me. I don't know if you're willing to go there, but I know you've done a lot of
Right,
training.
I know, because so many women are different, but let me tell you the foods that across the board give women problem, and it's very hard to admit, and I'm going to tell you right now, people are going to hang up right now. Alcohol. Alcohol, I never drank alcohol. I don't like alcohol. I don't understand wine. I don't get it. I really just don't get it. So I've had some clients say, I am not giving up wine. And then I'm like, well, then I can't help you. Like, I really can't help you. So that's one food. Another one is white sugar. If you're dealing with this, there's nothing that's good about white sugar. I mean, it comes in many names, so you have to be very careful. But cane sugar, beet sugar, there's many different names for processed white sugar. And maybe we should post that up on my page so you guys can be aware. So that's the second thing. Then I would, oh gosh, those are like the two really big ones. Everything else is really up for debate. I would say coffee. I really don't think coffee is good for most women who are suffering from chronic inflammation. There's usually nothing good about coffee while you're sick. I mean, it depletes your body of minerals. It causes inflammation. It makes your heart rate go up. It makes your blood pressure go up. It's a false sense of being energetic, but you're really not, and you're killing your adrenals. So I mean, I guess here's another unpopular answer, coffee. And then, you know what, soda, like Allison said, I mean, there's absolutely no reason to be drinking soda. It's not even a food, it's a food-like substance, and it's a really horrible thing to be eating. So I know those are staples of a lot of our food, and I know oh my gosh, they're almost like, they're all addictive. They are really, alcohol, coffee, sugar, and soda are all very addictive foods, and they're not usually good. Now, that doesn't mean you'll never be able to eat them again. Once you're feeling better and you're healed, you can definitely indulge every once in a while, but when your body is inflamed like this, they're just not going to serve you any good. So
I want to offer our listeners and people that will watch later, the Walls Protocol is an autoimmune diet, and it is very strict. Terry Walls, if you watch one video, watch her TEDx talk on minding your mitochondria. She was a doctor that had MS. She was so bedridden in a zero-gravity wheelchair, about to lose her practice, and decided that the answers weren't good enough for her that current medicine was offering. And so she did her own research, and she's out walking around and practicing. And I mean, it's one of the most incredible videos you can watch. And this is an autoimmune diet, and if vulvodynia and vulvar pain have any autoimmune component, that's a really good place to start. Taking records, I think, is the most important thing that Laura said. It is individual. You have to do some kind of an elimination diet to figure out what is making your body inflamed. It's different for everybody, and it's frustrating and it's tiring, and that's why the support groups are there. But my gosh, on the other side, it is so worth it, and I encourage you all to try it. The second thing, if I were to do nothing else, no change in diet, nothing, I would learn about mindfulness. And so, Lorraine, I want to talk a little bit about that. How does this work? Why does this work? And how do we get started?
Okay, great. So first, I just want to throw a voice in there. Like, definitely, I think the diet component is important for a lot of women, and it wasn't for me. Like, I eat a whole foods diet, but I eat pizza and I drink coffee. I never really haven't drank soda in 20 years, but I have wine occasionally. Like, so for me, diet wasn't a huge part of what was going on. And there's actually, so the mind-body work, I think part of what is significant about that is that recognizing that the brain, all pain is created in the brain. And sometimes there is a physiological reason for it, and sometimes there isn't. Like, pain is it's like a danger mechanism. There's a lot of factors that go into when your brain decides to create pain and how much it's going to create. So sometimes it's not about your body not being physically healthy. It's really about your brain, you know, Sarno says, distracting you or creating a decoy. Laura Mosley, who's a neuroscientist, says, you know, it's letting you know how much danger it thinks you're in. Both Sarno, I really like his philosophy about emotions, because what he's talking about is that we learn our emotions are dangerous from the time we're very young. And so just that in itself can set off this pain response. So to start working with that, first I'd say it's important, even for women who don't have a significant mind-body cause or underlying cause of their pain, that the ways we respond to pain, the ways we catastrophize and worry and get really hyper-focused on pain, what's happening in our mind can make everything a lot worse because it triggers our stress response. And by that I mean like the fight, flight, or freeze response in our body, which is going to release adrenaline and cortisol. So a lot of women are in a chronic fight or flight response from the way they're thinking before they get pain, and then once they have pain, it just gets really amplified because it's scary to have pain that nobody's able to help you with, and it's easy for your mind to really get focused on it. So one simple thing is to start observing what your mind is doing. Like, so writing the thoughts down, not with the idea that you're going to like try and figure them out or analyze them, but just starting to get a little separation, like this is my mind and what my mind's doing, and oh look, my mind is saying that same old story that I'm never going to get better, and my mind is telling me that, this may work for other women, but it's not going to work for me, or and then sort of, I like to say that there's four parts of us. There's our mind, there's our body, there's our emotions, and our soul. And we live primarily in our mind. And starting to just observe our mind as a part of us rather than all of us, and then bring our attention into our body. The very first thing I teach women is how to breathe down into their low belly and pelvis, because it activates the vagus nerve, which triggers the parasympathetic nervous system response, which stops that release of adrenaline and cortisol and starts releasing neurotransmitters and hormones that actually relax the body and relax the muscles and allow blood to start flowing again. So nice, gentle, deep belly breaths. Also, starting to bring your attention into your body rather than avoiding your body, which is normal when you're in pain to avoid your body, but to start bringing your attention into your body and noticing all the other sensations in your body besides just the pain. Like we get very, focused just on the pain. We forget we have a whole rest of our body that's having different sensations. So starting to learn about your body and connect to your body. And then starting to ask, what else is going on in my life that doesn't have to do with the pain? Because we start, I hear from so many women, oh, everything was fine until I got this pain. But always when we dig a little deeper, everything was not fine before they got the pain. But what was happening was they were so disconnected from their own inner experience that they weren't aware of it. And now they need to learn how to start noticing their inner experience again and paying attention to it beyond just the pain. So how do I feel about myself? How do I feel about my relationships? How do I feel about my work? Like, what are the bigger things going on in my life that I may be avoiding a little bit, and how can I start addressing them and looking at them? I think that's really important. And then, like what I did, starting to have some moments at least where you're saying, okay, if this pain were somehow, like if my body were somehow helping me or trying to get me to stop and pay attention to something, like how could that be? Like what might my body be communicating to me? And starting to switch from being in resistance of the pain to breathing into it and starting to get curious and even ask, which is what I did. I really sent love to my pelvis, I imagined it filling with love and light, and I connected my heart to my vagina and my vulva and really asked, what do I need? What are you trying to tell me? Is there something I need to know? And that really made a big difference for me. So I think, yeah, those are some ideas.
Can I add, this is Laura, can I add something to what Lorraine said?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is Allison still here, or did she get home?
Yes, no, go ahead.
Okay. I thought you. So I just want to say also that what Lorraine said about oftentimes, I said it too earlier, was it came out of nowhere. I was fine, and then I wasn't fine, and what the heck? I wasn't fine, guys. I'll be honest with you, I really wasn't fine. My marriage was almost over when I got vulvodynia. I had no idea. My husband almost left me. My son had OCD and was such a difficult kid. I bottled it up. I was trying so hard to keep everybody happy, like all women do. I was trying to keep my family together. I was trying to keep, my kids happy. My son trying not to have him freak out. My husband making sure he wouldn't leave me. And I had no idea that it had anything to do with my vulva. Like, I thought it was a total separate issue. In fact, we were seeing a marriage counselor, and 6 months in, I didn't mention vulvodynia. And then finally, like 6 months in, I happened to say something about vulvodynia. I was in the midst of healing. And the doctor said, wait, what? You have vulvodynia? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh my gosh, Laura, of course you have vulvodynia. Your marriage is like a mess. It's your most,
Wow.
it's the most intimate part of your body with your husband. You're keeping him away. That's why you have vulvodynia. And it was 6 months in, and I was like, oh my God, I had never dawned on me. So we didn't even have to dig so deep. It was right on the surface, but I didn't want to admit it. And I wasn't. And so women that I've worked with on diet that say it's not my diet or it has nothing to do with it, you know what? You could eat green drinks all day long and you could try to alkalize yourself, but if you're in a relationship or you're in the job that you hate the job, or you're struggling to keep your family together, it doesn't matter how much broccoli you eat or how much you try to alkalize your body or how much baking soda, and you're still going to be on fire, guys. I've sat in front of, the school that I went to, many famous doctors. They said you're better off eating a Twinkie and being calm and meditating than you are eating green drink and having, horrible relations with everybody in your life. And it's very, very true. So it's just that I didn't know what Lorraine knows, so she's much more, intelligent than me.
No, I didn't know it right away either. But I want to, I think that's so awesome, and I love that you shared that. And that, it's not always your relationship. It's not always, but it's usually something. And I think as women especially, we live in a patriarchal culture, guys. Like, women have been shamed out of their emotions, out of their sexuality, out of their bodies. Like, I would say 100% of the women I talk to think their vulva is disgusting. And they thought that before they had pelvic pain. They think sex, even if they're having it and they seem, even if like part of them wants to have sex and there's this other part of them that thinks it's dirty, because that's what they were taught by their culture and their religion. And then emotions, like, so when I have this reaction about mindfulness, because mindfulness is part of what I do, but I'm really more about helping women embrace their emotions. Like, we've been taught, you shouldn't be angry, you're a bitch, you shouldn't feel sad, you should be happy, No, our emotions are like our inner wisdom, our guidance. They give us feedback about what's right for us and what's not. And so starting and holding all that back creates so much tension in the body and stress. And so re-embracing your inner experience, your emotions, your sexual energy, learning how to love your body, your vulva, thinking it's beautiful again, like looking at it, those are all important parts of healing, I think. And diet, it too, of course, supports all of that.
Lorraine, that is so powerful, and a lot of that is what I end up talking about in the book Rethinking Women's Health, but it comes out next week. I wanted to do a prize. I told people we're going to do a prize, so Laura, pick a number between 1 and 68. We had 68 people register.
42.
All right, Lorraine, you pick one.
22.
22. Okay, I will look on the registration, and number 42 and number 22 will get a copy of Rethinking Women's Health. And anyone who purchases the book this week on Amazon Kindle, I would be happy to talk with you. If you send me your receipt, I'd be happy to talk with you one-on-one for as long as you want, on the phone, on email, however is best for you, to talk about a plan to get you to start getting you well. So you can email that to Allison at AllisonBuehler.com, and you can find that on my website. I'll put it up in the comments at the end, or on the email at the end. But just keep that in mind. And also, Laura and Lorraine, you both have services that women can use and they can find you later on. I want to remind women, up at the top, there's a live button. It's yellow. It says live. Next to that is the question panel. If you click on the little 9-square panel, you'll be able to ask questions. So please feel free to type those in. If you can't find those, go to Laura's Vulvodynia support page and type them in there. I'll be looking there. But while we're waiting for some questions, how about Laura and Lorraine, you tell how people can get a hold of you for further help.
Yeah, you guys can message me through the Facebook page that I have, the Vulvodynia Curing It Naturally with Laura, and I offer coaching sessions for women to help figure this out and give them a little support. I really don't promote it on the page. I listen to my own rules on my page. I really try to keep it free of any kind of promoting, but I am available. And if you mention that you were on the webinar today, I'll give you $15 off a regular coaching session, or if you listen to the recording. So you can also email me at bewelllauraL, and I'll post that on the page too. And Lorraine, you can also post, we'll post her where you can get all of us on the page, but it's bewelllauraL@gmail.com, and you spell out BEWELLLAURAL, bewelllauraL@gmail. You can email me, and I'd be happy to set something up.
Right.
Okay. So my website is radiantlifedesign.com, and I offer coaching as well. I also teach group programs a couple times a year, and I'm in the process actually right now of turning my 8-week group program for a couple times a year for women with pelvic and sexual pain, where I teach all the tools I've been talking about, and I'm right in the process of turning that into like a self-study, home study kind of thing that women can do on their own. So if you're interested in finding out more about that, you could just sign up for my newsletter at my website.
Tell me your website. I'm going to type it in here for people to see. Tell me your website.
It's radiantlifedesign.com.
Okay, I put that on the notes, and also, Laura, I put the Facebook page on the notes so women could find it.
Thank you.
I just want to say there's also a free, I have a free Mind Body Alchemy kit on my website that gives you a couple tools to start with if you want to check that out.
For immediate relief. Okay, we do have a question right here. Let's see, I believe, where'd it go, Laura? That one that we saw earlier. Can you find it?
Candy? From the one from Candy?
Yes. Oh, here it is.
Got it.
Talking about how your pain showed up later in life, but I had mine since I was a baby, so I don't understand how could it have any emotional issues related to it. I also don't understand why everyone else with vulvodynia seems to have gotten it as adults when I've had it all my life. That's a good question. For me, I would answer that some people have autoimmune disorders their entire life. Sometimes you're just born with it. A lot of us that are born and are not breastfed and cesarean sections, that's a big reality. Also, just the environment that you're passed on. Autoimmune systems are hit by genes, environment, and lifestyle, and so that could very well come from babies. I don't know if you guys have any other ideas about that.
I do want to say this, it's not the first time. Unfortunately, I've had many moms of as young as 7 years old. I mean, it just breaks my heart when I hear that. It is vulvodynia. It sounds very much like what we face as adults. I guess we could theorize about it. I'm not against vaccines, but I'm definitely against some of the vaccines and the scheduling of them and what they put in them and what they've put in them in the 80s and the 90s. And again, though, I don't want to blame an outside thing. We have to look at our internal environment. So just a little example, my youngest daughter is allergic to pistachio nuts. No one in our family has an allergy. No one I know of in any side of the family, but she's severely allergic to pistachio nuts. When I was pregnant with her, I ate pistachio nuts nonstop. So sort of like solidifying what Allison said, I definitely had leaky gut. I feel like I gave her the allergy in womb, and it might have something to do with the condition of your mother. And I'm not blaming anybody again, we're theorizing, but when you're in utero, you take on whatever is going on in your mom. And so whether it's physical and emotional, You know, there have been scientific research about how fetuses pick up stuff emotionally and physically. So that would be a theory. It doesn't really matter, though. I mean, the good news is, Candy, because I know this was Candy's question, I really do believe you can find a path to healing and curing yourself. It's going to be different than us, but there is a path. It's just about rolling up your sleeves and getting in there. So that's my theory of the whole younger people having it thing. I don't know if Lorraine, if you have a theory.
I don't have a theory. I mean, I don't think everything is mind-body, but I do think that even if the original cause wasn't mind-body, there are certainly mind-body things that can help you heal now, because there's, you know, all the stressful thinking around the symptoms now, and, you know, the way you've learned how to be with your emotions, learning how to work with those things, create an optimal environment in your body to relieve the pain. But I'm not sure how with a baby this could be the case, but I do have clients who had pain from very young, you know, either the first time they tried to insert a tampon or before that. And I do think that even small children pick up the mental and emotional patterns in their household, and you know, it certainly depends on the environment. Some of them have had a lot of trauma by a very early age. I've also had clients who, as you know, young as 2, had medical trauma because they were catheterized, and so that, you know, not only did it created a physical thing, but also it was a traumatic experience. So there was an emotional component of that as well. So,
Laura, are you seeing the next question on Facebook? I can read it to you.
Yeah, I don't see. I'm sorry.
Okay, where did that go? She was asking about. Oh crud! I lost it now. I had three groups open.
You're juggling.
I was juggling. Okay, I'm going to just summarize, and then maybe it'll pop up again. Here are my suggestions, just in closing, from all the women that I spoke with that healed. And I didn't, like I said, not a little bit of healing. I wanted to talk to women who had truly felt like they'd gotten their lives back. And here are the suggestions one more time. Number 1 was search out an underlying cause, whether it's physical, mental, emotional. Number 2 is go on an elimination diet. Find out what foods your body reacts to. It could be an autoimmune disorder. It could be an allergy. And finding out what foods feed your body and heal your body, and which ones irritate your body is important. Number 3, cut out sugar. Just cut it. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. There's no benefit on earth to sugar. I know that's a hard one to hear. Again, it's not fun. Nobody wants to hear that one, but I can't emphasize enough the health benefits of cutting it out. Balance your body's. Number 4 was balance your body's pH. That was Laura's trip to recovery. It was my result. I didn't set out to balance it, but I ended up becoming balanced by getting an overall health makeover. And get rid of systemic yeast. Heal and seal your gut. Laura, you talked about leaky gut. I mean, I'm sure most of us in this culture have that. It's just the way that it's what we've created. Look into probiotics. Look into probiotic-rich foods. Implement an autoimmune eating program like the Walls Protocol. Again, Terry Walls is incredible if you want to look into that. Find out about the mind-body connection and how it impacts wellness. Some of the best people I can recommend are Sarno, and who else would you recommend, Lorraine? You probably know better than I.
Sarno, Schubner has a book called Unlearn Your Pain. I also really like Lorimer Mosley's work. He has a book called Painful Yarns, and it's all about the neuroscience of pain, which is very interesting.
Excellent.
Yep, and I recommend for the pH diet, the best one to me that was extremely helpful was Christopher Vossi, Dr. Christopher Vossi, the Acid Alkaline Body Diet to Optimal Health. It's an easy to read. These pH books are extremely technical, and if you're not a chemistry major, my eyes were like, you know. But Dr. Vossi's book was extremely readable, and it's not 3,000 pages long. So that's a really good book if you're going the diet route. Also, my free ebook, which I mail to everybody, just give me your email, says what I did and gives some charts about what that might be helpful to you about what I did. So,
thank you.
Can I add one more thing, Allison? So I would say some books about like female sexuality, if you have any inkling that that might be something that's part of your pain. So I really love the book Vagina by Naomi Wolf. It's filled with current research on women's sexuality and the connection between the vagina and the brain, and it's very interesting. So,
Thank you. We should put together, I think we need to put together after this is over our top 10 list of books and support groups. I know that's where I looked for answers. I wasn't finding them anywhere else until I decided to become my own advocate. And that's what I want to leave women with today. You can heal. I don't care how long you have this. I had this for 15 years. This thing ruled my life. I never thought I would get better, and I am. I'm well. I've been well for a long time. You can heal. And the only way you can heal, though, is to start becoming your own advocate, loving your own self, and knowing that you are worth healing. So thank you so much for joining us today. I will look up our winners from our drawing later on, and I'll email everybody who registered so that you have the link, even if you couldn't be live with us today. I'm sorry, I don't believe that the viewers were able to use the question answer like I thought we would. I kept checking the Facebook pages, but maybe I can work out something easier next time. And the last thing is that I would love for all of us to think about maybe getting together in person someday. We need a conference for that, for this, and we need to become advocates across the nation for health among women. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.